One of the things I realize is that, as humans, our lives are finite and there's only that amount of time that we have to learn all the things that we can. So the best way to really, aim for better is to work with people who are better than you, who think differently from you, and also in ways like that make you a better person. So I think of collaborations as a way to communicate with other people, but also ways to come together, like with more minds to create this figurative kind of better. And for me, I really enjoy it because I don't really, like I said, I don't really think of myself as a musician. I enjoy a lot of other parts of life. I enjoy cooking, I enjoy, gardening, I enjoy painting, and I really see my art as a coming together of all of that. But I also understand that I'm not a master of all of that. And if I can find other people who are better than each of these individual things and bring them together in a room, I think we can work together to create better. So that is how I view collaboration because I just really am interested in more than just music in the way we think of music.
Right.
So some of the more, I would say, meaningful collaborations for me are things that take a long time and also need a lot of just humility and just time to learn. And so if I were to do a collaboration with people, I hope that it's something that we can spend years just understanding one another, learning from one another, and before we even start doing or making art. And, again, communication is key. I find that I work best with people who can deal with my level of communicating, which is a lot. um, I write a lot of emails, I send a lot of messages. I have a lot of questions, and that's just the way I am. So, I work best with people who can deal with my kind of insistent, like, hey, but what about this? Or, hey, have you thought about that? And what about this? And tell me more about this, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's just working with people that I really enjoy and learning more about what they do and what they do best that I think, is the most valuable.
When you say you like working on projects that take a long time, like how long are we talking? Are we talking like months, years? Because I mean, when I think about kind of the state of being a composer these days, it's there's a lot of pressure to like get things done and out, and which I am doing my best to kind of like rebel against in my own ways. Work with
Hmm.
people who are okay with like not a quick turnaround and stuff, like kind of like what you're talking about. I mean, how
Yeah.
long do you spend on these projects?
It depends on the project, obviously, but the further away from what I usually do, the more time I would appreciate being in it. So let's just, for example, the piece I worked with Noah and Michiko on, blocked orders, that piece took us about 3 years to put together. And it's a very simple piece. I mean, I say simple, but you know, it's a solo soprano saxophone with electronics. Like if you tell a composer this, like, oh, solo piece with electronics, they're like, not a big piece. But to me, it's a huge piece because at the same time, I was thinking of like how to work with a soloist, how to work with, soprano saxophone, how to work with an artist who is working on, making their visual part of the artwork and how that integrates into the music. And the music is also like how this performer is playing with a live electronics part. Like to me, it's such a big work, but
Mm.
on the grand scheme of when we talk with other musicians, it's like just a solo piece pretty much. So, that's about 3 years. And I recently finished an opera, and that was about 5 years in the making because it involved a lot of research. It involved a lot of working with other people, you know, collecting stories, stuff like that. So, yeah, it depends on the project, but like definitely multiple years of projects, of collaborating and working together. to learn before we put anything into a piece.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, I mean, it reminds me of, there's like that meme with the iceberg where, well, or really just the saying, like, you know, you just see the tip of the iceberg and people are like, "Oh, that's it." But then like there's everything underneath that, you know, everything that comes before it. I mean, how do you convey that to an audience? I mean, I'm almost asking that rhetorically, like not to you specifically. Like, how do you say like, "Oh, it's not just a solo piece." Like, I spent a lot of time, you know, and a lot of effort, a lot of relationship building to get to this
Mhm.
point. You know.
Yeah. I don't know, I actually haven't really thought about that, like, I've said this before, but I don't really think about the audience as much when I'm composing. I appreciate the audience and I do care what they think about my music, but I don't really care to let them know before they hear the music what I want them to get out of it,
Mm,
because I think everyone should have the autonomy to think through what they just heard on their own with no help before the artist kind of barges in and be like, this is what I want you to hear and know. So I've, a lot of my program notes are kind of like hand wavy because I don't really want people to know anything. Um, so I haven't really thought about, how to tell audiences that this is such a big thing, even though it doesn't might not seem that way.
yeah.
Because to me, I don't think it matters.
Mm, yeah. That's right. It's a lot for me to think about.
Right. I mean, it matters to me, but I don't think that it
Sure.
should matter to other people because it matters to me. I think other people should have their own say about how they feel, how they experienced, the artwork. But I think the artist should stay kind of out of that.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.